This is Back to Back.
Yes, how we feeling out there? This is Back to Back. My name is Willie Joy. Welcome to the show, guys. How you doing? How you feeling? How is everybody? I'm just going to jump right into it today because this is a really special episode of the show. My guest today is Flosstradamus, a.k.a. Kirk Camerucci. Floss is about to drop a new single. His first single since becoming a solo act. It's called How You Gonna Do That, and it's coming out this Friday, June 23rd. He debuted the single at EDC over the weekend, and if you were there or if you were watching the live stream, you probably either saw or heard about the Floss set there. Just fucking crazy. It was probably the biggest crowd I saw at that stage the whole weekend, and definitely one of the most talked about sets. So this is the best episode of the show I've ever recorded, hands down, and you guys are going to see why in a minute here. Kurt is one of my closest friends in the music industry. We've known each other for forever, basically since we started really doing this seriously. But beyond the music game, I mean, he really is just a really good friend. You know, I've been making and performing music for a long time at this point. And in that time, I think the same as anybody else who's had a music career for this long, there have been a lot of ups and downs. And Kurt's been there for most of them. There were some critical times over the years where without his support, I might not have made it through. And there aren't really many people I can say that about, truthfully. I like to think the reverse is true, too. I've been around at a lot of pivotal points in Kurt's career, for sure. And we talk about that in the conversation you're about to hear. It's actually kind of weird because we now live on different coasts and we have travel schedules that almost never intersect. But somehow there's this force that just seems to pull us together at the right times. And we try to figure out what that is. I don't know if we ever really do, but I'm glad it's there. You know, we both started out as local DJs in Chicago together about a decade ago. I probably played more shows with Kurt than anyone else in my life. Over the years, we've made songs, mixtapes, remixes, you know, everything. Most importantly, we made a shitload of jokes together over the years. You know, when we get together, there's sort of this crackling energy that we both feed into. And we just start riffing, whether it's music or jokes or just some weird idea in our brains. You know, like I recently called Kurt out of the blue to tell him about a dream I had where he was basically the leading man in this kind of weird post-apocalyptic EDM musical, and I just wanted to tell him about it. But then from there, we started talking about viral marketing techniques and on to how we could use it in our actual careers. And you know, it's always a spiral with us, and you're gonna hear us spiral all over the place in a second. But before we get into that, how are you? Are you guys good? You doing all right? You feeling alive? You feeling well rested? If you're just getting back from EDC, I think I already know the answer from that. But I'm sitting in my studio in California right now. It's about 3 a.m. I just cracked a window. The night breeze is coming in. It's feeling good, man. You know, ever since I was a kid, summer nights have always been when music feels the most alive to me. There's something kind of magical about that connection we share between, you know, sound and nature. And it just feels more pure when the rest of the world is asleep, you know? And I'm sounding a little bit like a hippie here, I know. But, you know, I'm just in a good mood. I'm really happy all you guys are tuning into the show. Happy you're enjoying it so far. And like I said, this is the best episode so far. But we have so much more planned. I'm just really glad you guys are here taking this journey with me. So, hey, if you're taking a long drive, heading to work, at the gym, or just avoiding something you should be doing but don't really want to, just you guys being here is what makes this show special, for real. And you know, in the past couple weeks, I've been asking you guys to rate and review this show, but this week, all I'm going to ask is just to tell a friend about this show. Somebody you think who might enjoy this, somebody you think might find some value, just tell them to check it out. I just want to build this show into a community that we can all be a part of and we can all participate in and share and enjoy together. And I need your guys' help to do it. I can't do any of this without you. So let's get into today's episode. We recorded this in March. only about a month after Flosstradamus, the duo, had split up. So if you didn't know, Flosstradamus, for most of their existence, was a duo, Kurt and Josh. And just recently, at the beginning of this year, Josh left the group to take on a solo project. And so Kurt and I were in LA at the Ultra Records studio in March, where Kurt was working on the first batch of music as Flosstradamus, the solo artist. And that's where I first heard his new single, How You Gonna Do That, which comes out this Friday, June 23rd, along with a lot of other crazy new songs that you guys are going to flip out for when they drop later this summer. But in general, that was a really chaotic time in the Flosstradamus world. Josh had just left, and a lot of things were up in the air. There was a huge amount of pressure on Kurt to keep the ship afloat, kind of from all sides, and he was under a lot of stress at the time. And for me, my own career keeps me in a state of stress kind of all the time. That's just my personality. And so you can hear both of us reflecting and working through what was happening in our lives during this talk. And we get pretty real, guys. It was just one of those conversations that happened at the right time. We were open. We were both kind of in these transitional phases. Those are emotional times. I don't know if you can hear it in the interview, but we both choked up a couple times. And this conversation is a big moment in an artist's career that was kind of frozen in time. And I wanted to wait till the right time to share it with you guys. Because in any artist's career, you're going to hit turning points or forks in the road, points of transition. And this happens at all levels of fame and all levels of experience. We all deal with these moments. And I think it's pretty amazing to look at this conversation that we had only a couple months ago to now, when Kurt has not only righted the ship, but is building an even bigger and stronger future for Flosstradamus, in front of our eyes, basically. Between debuting an insane stage show at the sold-out 420 Fest that he did at Red Rocks a couple months ago, to the basically already classic EDC performance over this last weekend, to all the new music that he's got on deck, Floss is stronger than ever. And so, look, it's not a surprise to me at all to see Kurt take the new look Flosstradamus and just build it and morph it into something, even crazier than it was before. But it is worth celebrating, and it's definitely worth studying. We talk about everything from the start of our careers, all the ups and downs we've had over the years. We talk about the split between Kurt and Josh. And we talk about how bright the future is looking. Kurt's one of the most inspiring people to be around, always, and you're about to find out why. So I'm going to stop talking and let you guys hear this. Let's get into it right now. This is me and Kurt, a.k.a. Flosstradamus, back to back. Let's go. Well, I was trying to remember, man. Do you remember how we first met?
Fuck, dude. I don't know how we met. When did we meet? I know we met one of the clubs in Chicago.
Yeah.
That was non-existent. I guess my first memory of chilling with you and kicking it was when you did those parties uptown in Wrigleyville. It was a basement at that club that has a name of another club. What was it called?
It was called the Underground Lounge.
Yeah, and then there's Underground Club in Chicago.
The Underground is a legit real club, and the one I was at was just this bootleg spot, so everyone was confused. Anytime I'd be like, I'm throwing a party at the Underground Lounge. Yeah. And then they go to the wrong place.
We did our party at Town Hall Pub, and there was an Old Town Pub as well in Chicago. So it was kind of a similar thing. This was pre-Google Maps, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's funny. So that was the monthly fly-by-night parties that I was doing in Chicago, and we were only at that Underground Lounge spot for, I think, the first 2 or 3 months that we were doing it. And man, that place was insane. The only story I'm going to say about that place is the very first night we threw a party, and it was good. It was packed out, but the sound was just fucking shit, just terrible. And I walked back to the sound guy's booth, and he was just playing World of Warcraft.
Wow.
Yeah. That was about the speed of that place.
It was fun, though. I remember the night that I came in. Was it the Cool Kids were playing or something?
Yeah, we had the Cool Kids. Back in that was what was so cool about the Chicago scene to me, back then. And not even that the Cool Kids were famous at that point, but just kind of everyone was down to come, work with everyone.
That's how a lot of scenes, I think, are built. And there was something about Chicago in that era that was just just everyone was at every party. There was all different people who do different genres of music and different artists and like bike messenger kids and like yuppie kids and all these different people would all just mold together. It was like, I don't know, it was just a free time for everyone. It was cool.
I remember I felt really lucky to kind of get in. I felt like I was like the last one allowed in the club almost. Like the club of the cool kids, so to speak.
yeah. But not the group.
Yeah, not the group.
Yeah, it was, because you had moved into the city and we had all had like been DJing and stuff and you kind of were a newer addition, I guess, to it. But it everyone welcomed you with open
because I
arms.
remember when I was moving, these were MySpace days. And so I like did a little MySpace research on like what was popping in Chicago and like what the cool shit going on was. And, I found you guys, and I remember sending you and Josh and a few other people like MySpace messages of like, hey, I'm this guy you've never met. I'm moving to Chicago, and I'll see you soon. And what was so dope about that is back in those days, that kind of worked.
It did, yeah. That Let's Build fam didn't exist and stuff. Like it was a different thing. But it was cool, man. It was, I don't know. That era was so organic. And I'm sure there's scenes being built now that are the same way, but I don't know. There's like, it just was so natural. Everything happened just organically.
Yeah, and it was so exciting. Like I remember, going to those town hall pub nights back in the day, and that place held 75 people or something, and it always felt like 5 times that.
Yeah, we definitely did pack it out, but it was weird. We went back there not too long ago, and to me, it just felt so big, man. It was like when we were doing it, it still was like, small venue or small space with like 75 people. But back then, it just felt so big. And it was like this, I don't know, it was just the biggest thing you could do for me. And then, I mean, we're fortunate to play these huge festivals and stuff now. And you go back and it's like, wow, it was a small little space. It was like a bedroom. It was wild.
Yeah. Was it always packed out from like day one there, the first time you started?
No, it was awesome, man. So like we had like a group of friends. Like I used to run this moped gang in Chicago called Petty Cash, and the first night it was just like pretty much all my moped friends. And
define moped gang.
I mean, it's the softest thing in the game, but it was dope, man. We my best friend Pat and I we bought these mopeds, these like vintage mopeds.
Were you the guys that started moped shit in Chicago?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. It was weird. So we grew up in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and in Michigan there was like a little moped gang there called the Moped Army. It was just them. It was something about in that era, I don't know, or area, you could buy like these pedal start mopeds, not the scooters, but like the kind you pedal start. They look kind of like bicycles, but you could buy them for super cheap, like off of Craigslist, like $70 or $50. So that's what we did. We bought them for cheap in Michigan, like off of Craigslist or a garage sale or whatever, and then we'd fix them up, and it was like our hustle. That was how we were making money. We used to like buy them for like $70, fix them up, and then we would sell them to our friends. We ended up doing it. We would fix them up and just like kind of sell them to our friends at like cost. And then we started to like, everyone else wanted them. Like a lot of other people in the friend circle wanted them and stuff. And we kind of saw a way we could like hustle with it. So we would just start buying them from all over the suburbs, all around Chicago, build them up, fix them up, and then sell them to these people. And it just kept growing from there. So as we started getting more people, we started the gang in Chicago or whatever, the squad. And it was just like, it started out with 3 of us. And then we just started adding more and more people the more we got mopeds. And then I think everyone just wanted to get on that wave. It was called Petty Cash. We started it up and then it just...
So did you really kind of import the idea of like the moped gang from Michigan then?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, it was when we were in high school, there was one of my friends, Jake, was in the Moped Army, and he had ridden it to school one day, and I was like, damn, that shit is so cool. Like, it just looked, I don't know, I never saw anything like it. And it was so cool, man. Shout out Jake Van Order, if he's ever going to listen to this. I don't think he will, but like he's totally far removed from what's going on. But he ended up letting me ride his moped. And seriously, I came back and it was like crack on wheels. It was like, it was the weirdest feeling. Like they only go like 30 miles per hour. And so it's not that fast, but it's like just fast enough. You get to feel like, you get to hear everything around you. You get to smell everything around you. You get to see everything around you. And it's just like, I don't know. It just was like this awesome experience.
Well, and I feel like they're like small and like kind of unsafe. Like they're falling apart all the time and shit. Yeah. So like 30 miles an hour kind of feels like 60 miles an hour.
It's janky. Yeah. You're on this rickety old thing that's like been in someone's garage for years and years and years, like since the 70s. Like the original boom of mopeds was in the 70s, and then it just kind of like because those vintage mopeds were such a pain in the ass, they always broke. And that's actually why I got out of the game, is because you would always have to fix them. You would always just like have to deal with the issues. And after a while, that just gets tedious. I think that's what happened back in the 70s. People put them in these garages and these barns, and they just sat there forever. And then they paid whatever they did for them back in the day, like a couple $100 or whatever at Sears, put them in these barns. And then we ended up fixing them up years later, but they were janky and like screws were falling off, nuts and bolts. Like, I don't know. It's wild.
Are you from Kalamazoo originally?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kalamazoo area, like a little teeny, like, I guess you would say suburb in the country outside of Kalamazoo.
What is growing up in a place like that like? Because I'm from the Midwest, but I'm from like city Midwest.
Oh, okay.
And so I had friends who were, an hour outside that were on the farms or kind of in the more rural areas, but they'd always just come to hang with us. We'd never go to hang with them. Do you have brothers, sisters?
Yeah. I have an older brother.
I met your brother, actually.
You did, yeah.
Yeah.
I was the friends, like you said, that were in the suburbs coming to the city. Like, I grew up in the country. My parents had like over 15 acres, like kind of farm vibe. Like when we were younger, used to raise chickens and rabbits and shit. My dad, he was like always like buying and selling things. That's actually kind of with the moped stuff. And that's actually how I started with the DJ stuff too. He was like my dad owned like a thrift store, and he would always do flea markets. And like, he was kind of like the original Storage Wars and like the original like American Pickers kind of thing. He would buy something, and then he would buy something for like $1 and then sell it for $5. But like he would just always try to find value in things and like buy it and sell it. And like, that was my whole life growing up in the country. But like for me, I don't know, there was something in me, I didn't want that lifestyle. Like as I grew up, I didn't want to live in the country. I wanted to get out and see more of the world. Yeah, I was out in the country, and same with the DJ side of things with my dad. I'll backtrack a little bit with my dad with my dad buying all of these like old other people's things. He would store it at our house and then like, bring it to his thrift store, sell it at the flea markets and stuff. And that's actually how I found my original turntables. My older brother, he ended up kind of getting into hip hop and stuff like that. He was like super influential to me with like just music in general. Like I'd wake up in the morning and there'd be like Dead Kennedys playing. And then like the next day he'd play like Run DMC. He'd be playing all this different genres of music. And then he ended up getting a turntable. And then my dad and like one of the storage units got another turntable. And then we got a mixer, and we kind of got into the hip hop culture and just like learned how to scratch and shit. We were like kids living in the country with like a little bit like bigger city dreams. Like we liked a lot of the stuff that was happening in hip hop and happening outside of like where we were in our circle.
Well, it was cool for me. I got to meet your dad and your brother in Michigan when your dad was actually like selling his wares at a flea market there. And it was so cool for me because I felt like I kind of understood you better too. Like I don't know, I think about, especially as we're all getting older, like the older I get, the more I realize I'm exactly like my dad in a lot of ways. Like even though our lives are completely different, and I don't even think my dad necessarily understands what I do, we're at the core absolutely the same person. And not to like armchair psychologist you too much, but like I kind of saw it with you and your dad for like a minute. He's off in his own world, but it's this shit he knows front to back. He was like just naming off prices of a board game from the 80s, like super obscure stuff that he clearly had spent a lot of time on and probably knew better than anyone else around him doing it. And I kind of see that with you too, where it's outside of the mainstream. And I feel like even in the DJ game, you're not in the rat race, I feel like, of a lot of other DJs who are in the same mentality of trying to put out a record, get a crazy LED wall, play the crazy festival. Like you're doing some of those things, but I feel like the goals are different or at least that your mindset is different enough that it's like that just kind of happened naturally because of the weird like shit you were interested in figuring out. To me, you're all about figuring shit out.
Yes, definitely. And I do get that trait from my dad. I think it's partially him as well as even just growing up with that. It's crazy with those surroundings of him having all of me being exposed to all of these random things, like all the junk that my dad bought. Like I could get a turntable and I could take it apart and break it because there's 2 other turntables. And there was like part of the moped thing even with me is like my dad had all these other like these tractors that didn't work that he got at a storage unit just piled up in our backyard. And I would just like try to figure out a way to like make one of them them work out of 5. And it was just like something that was just in me. Like, I don't know. I like that. And that's even me now. Like, instead of like, even though I should like learn how to play the piano and like do the like standard way of like how you should go about making music, like I don't. I try to find, it's actually probably more difficult. And that's something I think I take from my dad too. I go the difficult route. Like, I try to find a shortcut by doing all these extra things when I could just like sit down and focus and learn how to play the piano or whatever.
Right.
But I would rather go find a way to hack my way to like learn how to play crazy chord progressions and shit like that. Because at the end of the day, yeah, maybe it's not going to make me better or whatever, but like I like that process. I fall in love with the process. And that's like the main thing that I really enjoy with the music is like doing it differently and figuring out a way to do it differently than everyone else, I guess.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Well, and I mean, you think about it, your dad could go work at a big box store
Yeah.
and like sell the same kind of shit. You
Yeah,
know?
true.
And like that would probably simplify a bunch of parts of his life, but
Yeah.
you know, that doesn't mean it's going to be more interesting. It's a way better story this way. You know?
Yeah, it could be. It's
better experience.
It's weird how, like you were saying, even to go back with that, like as I'm getting older and you're saying it too, we're like, as much as we rebelled in our teens and shit that we didn't want to be like our parents, there's something in genetics and the way we're raised that we become them in a way. Like,
Yeah, I think it's unavoidable.
I like it though.
Well, and that's the thing. Yeah, the older I get too, I'm cool with it.
Yeah, same. Like I'm starting to, it's weird, like the things that I'm like bummed out about with my parents or whatever, like I'm starting to do those things. I'm noticing them in myself and it's cool. I think that we're blessed that we get to see what we didn't like with them and we see that in ourselves and there's a ways that we can improve on ourselves by what we see them doing wrong, I guess. We can change the course of history or we can keep it going too accidentally or whatever too if we're not aware.
Right. Yeah, this is like a pretty skeptical view of the world, but I feel like the best most people can hope for, the best that I could hope for is like at the end of my life to have just been like slightly better versions of my parents.
Yeah. And then we're probably all going to have kids maybe one day and then that'll be another generation that's going to be better as well, hopefully. And like, it's just all leveling up.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's what parents want. I mean, I don't have a kid, but if I did, I feel like I would just be stoked if my kid was better than me. Like I would want my kid to be cooler than me.
As I'm getting older, like that's me wanting a kid. It's very selfishly, but I want to have that. Like I want to see the stuff that I've done in my life and I want to see my child take it to the next level, I guess. And whatever way they can. I'm sure that my parents are proud of me in certain ways and their parents are proud of them. Like,
do your parents get what you do?
They don't, man. It's like they're very removed from it. I don't know. It could be just the way that they handle it all. Like, I'm not doing like the cliche lifestyle for what everyone else I grew up with was doing. Like, everyone stayed in my hometown doing their thing. They're getting married young. They're having families. They're Christian. They're doing all of the cookie cutter molds. And for me, I stepped out of that and no one understands it. And I think that for my parents, they don't understand it, but they're stoked. Like I'm able to do what I love, and I think that they're happy there. But they don't understand what I'm doing,
right.
And so it's confusing to them. There's support, but there's also like I don't know. They just don't know what it is.
Yeah. You can only talk about it on a certain level.
It's weird. I think for me too. Like I don't want to like I don't come home and be like, oh, I did this, that, and the other thing. Look at me. Like I'm me when I come home, and I don't know if I like show the side of me. Like they don't really come out to the shows and they haven't really seen it. So like
they never.
My dad has.
Okay.
My mom came out to like show a long time ago, like 2005 or something. But like she hasn't went to anything. She's really Christian and she's like really afraid of the world.
Yeah.
Like she's so afraid of the world. And I think that she thinks that what I do is like devil music and like it's like the end of I don't know. I think she's just looking at it wrong. Like there's positivity in this. What I do is able to bring like all these races together and all these different types of people together. And I think that I don't know, if I were looking at it through the Christian lens, she looks at Jesus, I guess, and he did all of these things. I'm not saying I'm Jesus with this. This statement is going very weird with it, but I'm doing godlike things, I guess, and not godlike, but I'm doing things in the way that religion says you should, like, and bringing people together and stuff. And it's
the same values.
Yeah, the same values. I didn't mean to, I'm not trying to get Kanye on you right now, but like, it's like, yeah, it's the same values. And I wish she would want to support that. But yeah. I think it's just scary to her. So she doesn't.
My dad hasn't really come out to much other than like one early show. My mom likes coming out to the shows, but I keep every time she comes out, it's like kind of a bad show. It's like not like a cool one to see. And so I still have this fantasy, which is just growing more and more, of like one day where it's like a guarantee, whatever, like good slot at a festival where I just know it's going to look good and be really fun to watch. I want to fly them out and do it properly because I feel like there's no other way to sort of explain it other than to go see it.
Yeah, exactly. They have no idea like what this is.
Yeah.
Like no idea. Think about the music, like the sounds that they're hearing. Like EDM probably sounds like the craziest stuff to an older person. So like and for my mom, I think she probably like lurks on the internet and sees stuff, but she sees like these half-dressed kids and like all of this crazy stuff that it just looks bad to her and her like small-minded views. So I feel like, it'd be cool for you to show your parents like this big festival and like what you do. Like, this is what I do on the regular. And I think that they're proud of you no matter what, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, and they're cool with it. They support it. They think it's cool. But it's just one of those things where you always want that understanding, that level of understanding with your parents.
But I don't know. I think that's the dichotomy or whatever of children and parents. You're never going to get that understanding. Or I don't know if dichotomy is a word, but like
no, that is a word. You got it.
You never are going to get that with your parents. Like your parents never understand you. And the funny thing is, we started this whole subject on us starting to understand our parents, and maybe that's the way it is. Maybe we're here to like understand their path, but they don't need to understand ours because they've paved the way for us.
Yeah, they've done it, man. Know. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. They're above that. They
maybe
don't need to worry about that. Yeah,
maybe it's I don't know. I mean, as you get older, you kind of just don't give a fuck anymore. So maybe that's it. But no, I think that maybe that's it. They've paved the way. They've done it, and now it's your turn to like. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, they showed us what they could, man. My parents did a great job. I had a great childhood and,
awesome.
Very supported and all that. But like you said, I mean, I don't think they're doing their own podcast trying to figure out what we're doing.
That'd be awesome. Dadcast.
Actually.
If your parents did a podcast, what would it be about? Like if your dad did one, what would his be about?
Almost certainly biking.
What kind of biking?
Like cycling.
Like road biking or mountain?
Yeah, that's kind of his shit. Like, no, not mountain biking, but yeah, just like road biking.
That's cool.
He's like, that's all he does, man. It's like that and computers and just like hanging out with my mom and the dog. That's life. That's
awesome.
Yeah.
What if your dad did a podcast? Would it just be him and your mom hanging out?
It would have to be because I don't have any brothers or sisters, so it's always just been like the three of us.
Oh, cool.
And they're like, they've been together for God knows 50 years, something, and like. They don't have a ton of outside friends. Like it's really just them together. So yeah, it would totally be them talking to each other.
That's awesome.
But it'd probably just be my mom because she's the talker.
Yeah. It's a very similar situation. I know how it is.
Yeah. It'd just be my dad being like, yep.
That's all it is. But it's just him pushing a button saying, yep. like on the radio thing, yep. Yeah. And then an air horn every now and again if your mom says something real fire.
Yeah. Oh man! So, like growing up in Kalamazoo, you were fixing stuff. Was that like what you were doing for fun? Like after school, you'd go home and
I mean, when I was younger, I would do that. I don't know. Before I was like in my teens, my teens were like when the DJ stuff started, and when I was like kind of
the moped stuff.
Yeah, DJ moped shit, and like when I was like trying to figure out, I don't know me. I mean, you're a teenager. That's what you're trying to do, and so like I was kind of getting into fashion a little bit. Like I was super influenced by the Beastie Boys. To me, they were these dudes that were able to like, I don't know, they like loved hip hop, they loved rock and roll, they made like weird jazz records and stuff. They had a record label. All of those dudes had swag. Like their swag was through the roof. And so like, I don't know, for me, seeing Beastie Boys, when I was younger, I was just like I wanted to be like them in a way. I never told myself that, but like I just saw the swag that they had, and like I was like, that's the way I want to live. And so that's what it was. Yeah, at the end of the day, I'd come home from school when I was younger, and I'd just like work on tractors and work on just like fuck around and like break shit and make things. And just like my parents were actually really cool. Like my mom was really down for me doing anything creative or anything I wanted almost. Like, so when I was super young, I used to just like play with Legos and like draw and do a lot of artistic stuff. And even like we'd have like keyboards, I'd play on keyboards and guitars and stuff. My parents were just open for whatever I wanted to do in that sense.
Was she pushing you to do like church music kind of stuff?
No. She never really pushed me to do anything. Neither of them did.
Like you didn't even have to go to church or anything?
No. I mean, well, the church stuff was all her. Like I would go to it as well, but like it was all her. That was her main thing. Like I would go and like support her. I kind of got turned off on the church stuff because it was so weird. Like there was these kids in my hometown that if you didn't go to this church, you'd be kind of outcasted at school, and you'd kind of be outcasted a little bit.
Really?
And it pushed me away from all of that. It was just like, I thought religion was about like unity and family and like respect, and it just kind of pushed me away from it. So I never really vibed with the church stuff that much. Like, but I went to support with my mom.
Yeah.
But musically, no. When I was like a teenager, like getting into music and like playing in bands, and this was like the new metal era. So like there's a lot of like bands in my hometown that were like doing the rap rock, like Korn, like Limp Bizkit shit. And I was a DJ, so I was the guy that would scratch in all these bands and stuff. It was so funny.
You were DJ Lethal?
Yeah, I was Lethal and all of those dudes. DJ AM, I guess. We were talking about that earlier. But yeah, it's like I'd be that dude. But one of those bands was like a Christian rap rock band in my hometown, and I was like, and that was kind of the time I got pushed away from it all. Like it was like it wasn't the way I thought it should be.
Yeah.
So it pushed me away.
So when did you move to Chicago?
I moved to Chicago in 2000 again with my best friend Pat. Shout out Pat for real, man. He like, I might not even be here if it was for him. Like, he ended up wanting to like go to college. He looked at Columbia College in Chicago. I went with him to visit Columbia because he was like, yeah, let's go down there. And like, I just wanted to be with him and like just chill with my best friend. And so he got accepted to Columbia. I applied because he did. It got me to go to Chicago. Like it really did. Like it was like something that pushed me to like get out of our hometown. I always wanted to get out of it, but like it really pushed me. And so I went there in 2000 to attend Columbia College. Him and I lived together. And like, it was just like, that's kind of what set it off. And like, Chicago is what opened my eyes to everything. Like being in a small town, like you only have like a little bit of peripheral. Chicago was just like, you went from the small town to like a big city instantly. And it was like, you had to learn how to everything, survive, finesse, all of this stuff. It was weird.
So was that you and him kind of the core of how you ended up finding like the Chicago music scene we were talking about earlier, like Cool Kids and all them, or was that way later?
That was way later.
Okay.
Way later. But on the Chicago music side of things, I mean, I can take it back to Michigan. So back when I was DJing as like a young teenager, like 16, 17, 18 in Michigan, the original rave scene, like the OG rave scene was like popping around where I was. Like,
Midwest rave scene was crazy in those days, man.
It was wild.
Yeah, because I was coming up in Minnesota. It was the same thing. And we'd travel around, you'd drive to another state. Like we go to Wisconsin all the time. Go rave in a barn or like an ice arena.
Yeah, dude, they would do the craziest venues, man. So much. I mean, I played in the woods before, like in just like a table in the woods, and like there was all
sounds like a horror movie.
Yeah, for real, dude. Dude, we had so many crazy things, and like I was also super into design. My parents had gotten a computer a long time ago, early computers, and shout out my dad too. Actually, he got a computer like way early, and I think that's what really like changed me as a person. Like our first computer, I was absorbed in it. Like I learned how to like download programs like early on, like early hacking shit, and like it just like changed everything for me. I was dating like my very first girlfriend. I was like with her, and I seriously broke up with her for the computer. I swear to God. And like it was like she
married to the code.
Yo, I'm for real, dude. I'm stuck in the matrix. This was so early on. Like computers were so slow. We had dial-up internet, like slow modems, like slow internet. Like if you wanted one song, you had to start downloading it, go to bed, and the next day you could have a song.
I remember that, man.
It was crazy.
Did you have the dial-up where like you could only use it if no one was using the phone?
Yep, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yo, and where I grew up in the country, we didn't get touch tone dialing yet. So like it was the kind where you would rotate the numbers on the phone, like
rotary phone. Yeah.
But they had the push button phones had that feature. It's called pulse dialing. So you'd hit a button and it would make the rotary phone sound in it. So our modem that we would connect to the internet would do those like like these like rotary sounds. Whoa. And then it would dial up to the internet. It was like I grew up in like out there. So we didn't have any of that. I was like early on one of the first kids in my school with a computer and like all of that, man. Shout out my parents for real. They like kept up with the technology. If I was like, yo, we need to get a CD burner, and we had like a 1X CD burner. And again, if I wanted to burn, like I would download some weird like Beastie Boys Tibetan Freedom Concert MP3s or some shit. And then I wanted to burn them on a CD to listen to them in my car. You'd have to like all night, you'd have to start burning the CD. And you would wake up the next day and it might not be burnt. For real. Like that, it might not work or whatever.
Right.
And CDs cost hella money. Like to get a blank CD was almost $10.
Yeah, I remember.
And it
that.
might not even work.
Yeah,
Like,
so much work, man. Do you think you appreciated it more because of that work, or do you think that now technology is just making lives better? Like, does it matter that we spent all that time doing all that hard to do shit?
For me as a person, it means a lot to do all that. Like it definitely shaped me. It's all perspective, man. Like I could be like, yo, man, kids these days don't know how to burn a CD, this, that, and the third. Like whatever, man. That's fucking, I don't even know. Like there's things prior to me burning the CD that people had to struggle with too. But going through those processes of taking that long to download a song, to burn a CD or whatever, like it's given me so much patience. I learned patience that way. Even with like anything that happens on my computer now, or even just in life, like it's just patience. I'm like, to get what I want, I know it takes patience. It's weird because it's like some Zen shit I learned by like trying to hack. Like I learned patience and like Zen lifestyle by like stealing music and burning it on a CD. It's like a weird thing, but yeah. Help change me.
Going back to Chicago, once you were there, how did you end up kind of getting into, I know you've talked before about like how you and Josh got together to start Floss and all that, but were you kind of just DJing there from the get-go, like right when you showed up?
So I gotta give you the quick little timeline of it. So Chicago, when I first moved there, I was DJing, doing like little house parties and stuff, and I would play like little ravey kind of things. I was like the dude on these rave shows doing like turntablism. And it was probably horrible at the time, but
like
I was
scratching over house beats.
Yeah, or I just do like crazy creative routines, like a Jimi Hendrix like guitar riff over like a breakbeat record, like a drum breakbeat record, and then I would just like I'd juggle. I'd even emulate other people's things, like Invisible Scratch Pickles. Shout out them. They were like the Don of the scratch stuff, and A-Track too. I used to look up to A-Track and all those dudes. But I would also like take their routines and perform them. I was like
oh, really?
I was like a cover band, like turntablist a little bit. Like I would do like some of their juggle routines, but then like also do my own. But yeah, it was like my sets were kind of hip hop and like turntablism, but in the rave environment. So like there'd be all these dudes playing house and like drum and bass or whatever. And then I'd come in and do like a 30-minute like small scratch set. But I did it for free. Like I like the local promoters and shit. They would just allow me to do it. I'd also be designing the flyers for them. But I was like, yo, can I like? It was funny because now that I'm talking about it, I was doing the opposite. Like I was like, yo, I'll design your flyer if I can DJ at your party. But like they were getting 2 services out of me for free. Right. I was getting finessed when I was a kid, but it was just a way to do it. So like
that's how a lot of kids start, though, man.
Yeah, true.
You got to pay the dues, do the free work. I mean, even though it's a shitty industry and people will prey on you for it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I got started too. Is free sets.
Yeah.
Be like, I'll show up and I'll do a good job, and that's like, that's my reward.
No, and I think that's. You work for it, man. You build that, like that stands the test of time. If you have to work for anything in life, if you like a girl and she makes you work for her, you're gonna appreciate her a lot more. And if whatever it is, like if you work for these things, you're gonna appreciate them more. It has so much more value in your life. And I think for me, that's what it was. I was like making the flyers for these things, and I'd even like show up early and help out, and just like I wanted to do this. I don't know. The money didn't matter for me, and it kind of still doesn't. I mean, it does, but it doesn't. Like, I just wanted to do it. So that's what it was. I would just like make these flyers and do all that. But for you, what you just said a second ago, it also got me jaded on it. I would get taken advantage of.
Yeah.
And that's why I ended up stopping the DJ shit. Like I was DJing for a while in Chicago and all of that, and then doing all the flyer work and doing all this, and I started getting taken advantage of and screwed over. And then it just was like the luster of this like just wore off. I was like, you know what? I don't even want to be in this anymore. And I straight up like put my turntables away and sold my MPC. Part of that was like a monetary thing. I didn't have enough money, so I had to sell all that shit.
Right.
But I put it away, and I just was like, I'm out of it. I would like mess around. I ended up making like music on acid and shit, acid music on my computer. And then I would every now and again, but I never really stuck with the dance stuff.
So how did you get back into it?
There's a segue in between. So I left the dance music scene and like hip hop and all that, and like I met a whole new squad of kids. Like started hanging out with like these like rock and roll kids. Like these kids that just like listen to rock music, punk and all of that and metal and shit. Just was hanging out with them for years. We ended up they started a band called Hyper Viper that I joined like toward the end. And I was dating this girl, Marianne, and she was in the band. They allowed me to play drums in it because I played drums once in my life. I was horrible. I was probably the worst drummer that band has ever had. But I was playing drums in the band and like hanging out with these kids. And Marianne used to work at a bar called Town Hall Pub. And that's how all of this started. So she was working at Town Hall Pub. There would be like these random nights that some of our friends would DJ at. They would like have like a night where they play rock and like maybe some rap and stuff. But they were not DJs. No one was DJs in that crew. But everyone knew that I had DJed at one point in my life. And they're like, you should start DJing this DJing. And then so that's when I got back into it. And like it was Town Hall Pub, it was Marianne, it was the Hyper Viper, and all of my friends in this squad called Team Mayhem. They were the ones that would show up to these parties that we started. And during that time, I was just doing these little parties with them. And then Johnny Love in Chicago, we were all in the same circle of friends. And that's what I was saying with Chicago. It was like you had these like bike messenger kids and these rock kids, quote unquote rock kids, and then you'd have these hip hop kids. All of them would come to these same parties. And so back in Chicago, that's kind of what happened. We would just mix with all of these. And that's when I met Johnny Love. And he was like, yo, you should do this other party I'm trying to do at Liars Club called Scared to Dance. And then him and I started DJing together. And that was where all those kids would come together. All those different genres would come together a little bit. And that's when I met up with Josh. He was doing another party in Chicago called Life During Wartime.
Yep.
Which was a similar kind of vibe, but it was more geared toward indie rock. The stuff I was doing was like, we were broke ass kids. We were so broke. So we would go to the record store and buy like Little John records because they were the cheapest ones. And this is when we were playing vinyl. This was vinyl only back in the day. I would go buy like a 25-cent Little John record and like a 3 6 Mafia record because they were in the lower, cheaper record bins. But those got the party lit as fuck. Like Little John got the party lit back in the day. And so we were doing that side of things. Josh was on the Life During Wartime side of things. And he was playing like Love Will Tear Us Apart and like the indie rock kind of shit. But then he would mix in like MIA and like a little bit of like the hip hop stuff, like Little John and stuff like that too. So people were like, yo, you guys are doing similar things. Like there's this dude at this party and you're doing that. And that's how we ended up linking up. So him and I just were like, let's throw a party at Town Hall Pub where Marianne works. It was like, it just like worked out. We got this venue. She works there. We can just do it. Wednesday nights, one Wednesday a month. The guy that owned it was this dude, Bill. And he was just like, yeah, you guys can do it. Like whatever. I think he took money off the bar or whatever. I don't even know. I don't even know how we made, I don't know if we did make money those first few shows. We just did it.
Did you get paid?
Maybe.
Yeah.
We were able to like survive off this, but Chicago back then was cheap. Actually, because I was living with, this is another thing. I was living with Marianne. Marianne and I were together with her friend Julia, who also had a boyfriend. So we were splitting rent 4 ways. And then this other dude, Brian, who was living there too, in a small 3-bedroom like Chicago apartment. So like each of us was paying like $100, $175 a month.
Holy shit, that's amazing.
So if we do one of these Town Hall Pub nights, I was balling, man. I had like a couple $100 in my pocket. It was crazy.
I remember the cheap rent, man. That was part of the reason I moved. I mean, I had a crew of friends there, but it was part of it too. I just wanted cheaper rent.
And I think that's a lot of cities that have the cheaper rent are what like breed culture. That's what makes these scenes happen, is these like young kids who are broke who want to like do something and like, I don't know, like build something and be creative with each other. And I live in New York now, and it's sad because I moved there and I've been going to New York for years, decades now. And that's how it used to be, but that's gone now. It's so expensive in New York. The young broke kids who are coming from their small towns, they can't breed culture there. So it's happening in other cities.
I mean, look at like Detroit, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
You can buy a house for a few $1,000s. And it's all these art kids like buying up whole blocks, living in these communes.
It's the way life works. All those artist kids are going to build up those things, make all of these hip things. They're going to get older, make a coffee shop that's going to grow, and Detroit's going to grow a little bit from that. I'm from Michigan, so Detroit's in like a weird part of the world that I don't know if it can grow as big as like New York or like in LA, but it is growing now, and I'm stoked for it. I don't know if I can see it getting fully to its full potential.
Probably not, but what I could see happening there is like, artist community builds something that is then exported to one of the bigger cities, and maybe stolen, because that's what happens. But I feel like that's where the real art is going to happen, is like places like that, where the kids aren't like scrambling to survive and they can just like stretch out and fucking do whatever they want for a while.
And I think that's what was happening in Chicago in that era. It was like we were all able to survive on like low rent and just kind of do what we wanted. And like we were fucking kidults, man. We were kids at the time, but we were like in our early 20s, mid 20s, and we were acting like kids. And we were able to like, I don't know, extend that part of our life and be creative and like.
Do you think it helped that there was kind of like no blueprint of what to do at that time? Because if you think about now, I mean, you're an example of like a kid who wants to be a DJ can look up and see what you've done and kind of see how you got there and see what you're doing now. But, at that time, like all of us, there wasn't really anyone to look at as an example. Like, I don't even know what we thought the end goal was.
Yeah, because we didn't. I mean, if you were for me, I was a DJ wanting to be a DJ, whatever. I wanted to do it, but like there was like a Tiesto type figure, like the European dudes,
right?
Like were the only dudes that were holding it down because like dance music left the States and it went over to Europe, and then it was happening over there, and it was like. There just wasn't the swag there.
Yeah,
like it just had like a different vibe. So I couldn't empathize with those dudes. I couldn't look up to those dudes.
Yeah.
There wasn't anything like that. So I think that's why we got to make our own.
Yeah, maybe that's why. I mean, it seemed like from Town Hall Pub to like you guys going to the bigger venue, you know, it was like Abbey Pub and, you know, some of the bigger ones. It seemed like it happened really fast. Did it feel that way? Like within a year or two? I mean, you guys were like, seemed like you were playing even Lollapalooza, you know, bigger stuff like that.
I don't know, man. Like yes, it was fast. It was like, it's kind of all like a blur. It was just like, that whole era was just all about fun. And like, we never hit a wall, which was cool. Like I've hit walls in our career now. And we also we hit a huge wall in Floss a while ago, but there was no barriers. Like that's why I guess it did feel fast, but it was like you just said, we were like doing Town Hall Pub, this small thing, and then we were doing this bigger thing and this bigger thing and this bigger thing. And we even like got on magazine covers and shit, but there was never this like stop or this struggle, but it was just like, it was just going and it felt natural. I don't know.
Do you remember the first time someone like paid for you to go play in another city?
Yeah. Shout out Jesse Lee of Dub Frequency. He ended up bringing me out solo. Like Floss started kind of blowing up a little bit, and he was like, "Yo, can you come out and play these 2 parties in LA?" And that was actually like people ask me in other interviews, "Is like, when did you feel like you made it or whatever?" And that was the time that I was like, I got flown somewhere to do what I loved. And I was still like, I was working at Whole Foods at the time. I was selling mopeds. I had a degree at the time in design, but I wasn't using it really. And like, he flew me out there and I was like, damn, this is what I want to do. Like, I still have photos that I like took of the hotel room, like so much stuff.
Just
like,
so excited.
I'm getting like emotional thinking about it. It was like it was like a huge moment in my career.
Yeah.
Or whatever, like of me wanting to do this. And so, yeah, he flew me out to LA, and like I was like, "Damn, this is it." Like,
like
I get to travel. I get to travel and do this. Like,
right,
it was good.
Like if you can do it once, can you do it again? You know.
Yeah.
Like, let's talk a little bit about you mentioned the wall that Flosstradamus hit. So you're going along, you're playing bigger shows locally, you're starting to tour a little bit, doing some festival. I remember we played Lollapalooza in like 2008. I want to say.
Yeah.
On the same stage, I was like kind of midday. I had that slot right when there was no one there when I started, and then when I was done, it was full.
Yeah.
And you guys had, I think, probably the closing slot, and it was just, the DJ stage, like it wasn't even a big deal. Like it was still about the bands.
Yeah.
So it was a small little tent. And I think I have a clear picture in my mind. You guys you projected something kind of onto the roof of the tent awning.
Yeah.
Just like a projector.
Yep.
Like I don't even know what the visuals were, but yeah, it was way before LEDs or anything like that. And it was just rammed. I remember like way over capacity in the tent. And just watching it, like, there are those moments. I still remember I got goosebumps, like, watching you guys do that show because I'd never seen on that level something like that.
That's awesome.
It was just a moment. But to go from that, how did, say, we joke, like, Flosstradamus 1.0.
Yeah.
Like, what was the arc of that from sort of the peak of, and you guys were doing you were touring internationally, doing big shows everywhere. Other people in other parts of the country were kind of coming up at the same time. Like, there was sort of a national scene rising at that time. And we can go into that too. But just as far as Flosstradamus is concerned, I'm curious about when you feel you hit that peak for version 1.0 and how that kind of declined into that wall you were talking about.
I don't even know when the peak was, to be honest. Like, it was just, you asked me a minute ago, like, we were going. And then one day it just kind of like got woken up. And the show that did it for us was in like 2010, we had a show in Denver, and Josh's mom lives in Denver. She is like my mom as well, but she came out to the show. It was her and her 2 friends, and it was her 2 friends, and like some other people that were there, but there was only like 5 people in a big venue. And so we had been playing these bigger venues around, like these rock venues, doing these shows, and we went and did the show in Denver and played, and there was like 5 people in the room. And I think that was the first time I was like, oh shit, like, you can't just DJ for a living and like you need to put music out, you need to do these things. And like, yeah, in 2010 we hit a wall and it was like our last gig.
Just people stopped showing up?
Yeah. People stopped showing up. I think people got older and our name didn't hold weight as much anymore. And we had toured these cities a few different times. So the gimmick was like it happened, I guess. Like it just faded out with time, like a lot of things do.
You know, that's a common thing. I mean, I think that happens to a lot of acts.
Yeah,
know?
Of course. Yeah, it's part of the career. And it happened to us. Yeah, during that 2010 to 11 time, it was like we just like sat in the studio and just worked and like kind of just...
That's when you moved to New York?
Yeah, I moved to New York then. Josh stayed in Chicago. And we were just like making like little like beats and stuff. Like we were kind of like trying to find out what we were doing now. What we were in music forever. How can we finesse what's next in our lives with music?
Well, was there ever even a thought? Because I remember talking to you around those times, and like it seemed like maybe there's even a thought that like music wasn't going to be what the rest of your life was.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
Were you were looking for jobs or anything like that?
Not yet. I mean, me personally, I mean, I have saved every penny of this pretty much. Like I to this day don't buy much stuff. Like I showed you my hard drive earlier. I did spend a little bit of money on that, but I don't really spend money. Like we were able to make good money in that first run of Floss that it was able to keep me coasting. And if we never had this Floss 2.0 stuff happen, I probably could have coasted for a while and figured some stuff out, hustled my way into something else. So I think I was all right, but I still wanted to be able to do music. We had like connections. We had all of these things that were around in music. So it was like, why not keep it going? And so Josh and I both, we were like, let's like work on this. And so I'd been producing during all the era of Floss, like trying to figure out stuff, but I never really learned engineering side of it. So I started focusing more on the engineering and making the ideas that I had sound better and get into that side of things. Josh started producing a lot more then too. So we were both just kind of sending beats back and forth to each other. For rappers, we were trying to give our beat ideas to rappers, and it was falling on deaf ears. Kind of like rappers are notoriously flaky. It just didn't work. So we'd send beats to people, whatever, and no one ever would follow through. So then we just started putting shit up on SoundCloud, putting like little edits and songs up on SoundCloud, and that's what picked it up, made Floss 2.0 pick up. Right.
And, you know, I think probably anyone who's familiar with your career is, you know, familiar with like the original Don remix and all that, which is, you know, probably what sparked that explosion
definitely.
for you guys. But what I'm always curious about is sort of, you know, so that happened, right? You put out that remix, and that maybe more than anything else, if there was one thing, that was like the thing that made people pay attention. From that, you guys, to me, it was like you just somehow saw that window open up and just jumped through and like went balls to the wall, you know, working as much as you could, doing as much as you could. Was that a conscious thing?
Yeah, man. Like we hit rock bottom, man. It was hard. Like that show in Denver, like it hit us emotionally. I probably hit Josh even more emotionally because his mom was there. But like, again, she was like my mom. So it was like both of us, it really like crushed us a little bit. It was like, oh, this shit's over. And like our careers are over, and like we had a little moment of that where it was just over. And when we had an opportunity, it was like, hey guys, you got, like someone came up to us like, yo, you want another chance? Yeah. And we're like, fuck yeah, dude. Like, so when the original Don remix hit, it was awesome. We had a whole 5 years prior that we got to make mistakes and do things wrong, and now we got this opportunity to do the things right. We got to do everything that we should have done the first time. And the things that we did right before, do them again better.
Yeah. And you seem more free to me. Like it was kind of any idea you had, like I would talk to you and you'd say an idea, and then a couple months later I'd actually see it happening.
Yeah, dude. Well, I think that's what it was. It was like, yeah, maybe it was free. I think that was the thing. We were able to just act on everything. Like, and Josh and I were in such a good place. Like, him and I, when this hit again, we're like, we quit drinking, like all of this stuff. We just got so focused. Like the first half of Floss 2.0, we were sober. Like for the first 2.5 years, maybe just like fully focused. Like,
yeah.
I don't even know if weed was about. It was like just full on focused. But we would just get creative and just like any weird idea that we had, we would just try it. And it would work. And like people fucked with that because we were just doing whatever we wanted. That's how the fan base started. And that's like just all of this stuff. I don't know if it's like an ego thing or whatever, but it's like, damn, like anything we think of, we can make happen. Yeah. And like, that was the coolest shit. I don't know, man. Like think about like just like wanting to create, you can make, and you still can, anyone can do whatever they want, but we almost like had no barriers again.
Yeah.
Like we like hit a wall and we had barriers and it was like, fuck. And then we broke through those barriers and now it's like, oh, we can do whatever we want again. And like, I think that's what it was. It was just this energy that kept, I don't know.
Yeah, it seemed like, and maybe going back to, earlier shit we were talking about, it was like you kind of brought everything you already had to bear, like, back to, say, your designer roots, like graphics and fashion and all that. Because you were doing pretty much all of the design.
Yeah, dude, everything. I was like learning 3D programs, like the Nomads cover that's DJ Slink and us. Like I like had to learn how to like make 3D, like render 3D stuff. Our logo too, like a lot of these things. Like it was just, I got to go back to that, but it was cool. It was like I could design something, but there was like people there that could absorb that or whatever. And same with music. We could make an idea, a music idea or a mix or play something out live, and there's people there to like to take that in, and it was awesome.
Well,
like,
and I mean,
we all want that, I'm sure. Like,
100%.
Yeah.
And I mean, to take, this is probably getting too deep, but
No.
you were talking about earlier how like church wasn't for you because you didn't feel that community and the unity and all that, and it's like you've sort of in a weird roundabout way managed to make it for yourself. With your fans and all of that, you created the own world, which is, I don't know, I mean, it's similar to like a church for a lot of people.
Definitely,
I think.
man. Trap church. No, but no, it is though. I mean, even religion and all of this stuff, it's just like a group of people, a group of like-minded individuals that like all come together under like one cause, I guess. And that's what it is with like the kids in Hoodie Nation and stuff. Like we all have a similar mindset. I say this in interviews and stuff too, but it's like if you are in Hoodie Nation and you fuck with that, like you will go to a Waka Flocka show, and you might go to a Martin Garrix show, and you might go to like a Denzel Curry like underground hip hop show or something. Who knows? You might go see like, I don't know, Lumineers, whatever. But like you're into all these different things.
Shout out Lumineers.
Yo. I've been meaning to say this for a while. Shout out Lumineers.
Those were exciting days, man. Like the start of what we're calling Floss 2.0. Yeah. I think that was when you and me were like getting closer too, because we were always homies, but I feel like we didn't really like become close friends until we had both kind of left Chicago and we're just like talking online or see each other on the road.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I was at some of those. I think I was at the very first Floss 2.0 show at South by Southwest that first year. Wow. Just like randomly hanging out.
You've been at every monumental show of our career,
which is really weird.
Every fucking pinnacle show.
Yeah,
it's so crazy.
Yeah, it's bizarre because I mean I'm not following you guys around the Grateful Dead,
but I think it's like, I don't know, man. Like I'm a huge believer in like energy and fate and a law of attraction and like. I don't know, man. Maybe like you're such a good dude, and maybe just having you there. Like I've said this about you, man. Your energy is like, you don't have it. Like your energy is like so unique, and you bring something out of me, and like that no one can. And maybe that's it. Like maybe you're just there in those moments that like, I don't know, like it's just meant to be.
Yeah,
like,
man.
I don't know how to explain it.
No, I mean, I hope so, man. I don't know what it is, but the feeling's definitely mutual. I think back to like some of those early, like when it was you guys literally just wearing hoodies. And the only thing you had on stage was a bunch of strobe lights. Yeah. If there was even a stage, like it was like more Goosebumps moments.
Yeah.
You guys, I remember you came and played a show in DC where I was living, and you guys like slept on my floor because they weren't, paying enough or whatever it was. Like this was like the start of 2.0. Yeah. And then we can get into that night that generated some amazing stories.
Wait, what? Wait.
That was the Dougie Fresh night.
Oh, my God. That was Dougie Fresh night? Oh, my God. I didn't know that. I thought that was like when we did U-Haul or something. But no, it was a Dougie Fresh night.
That was the Dougie Fresh night. Yeah, when you guys stayed with me. And so
you seriously have been at every moment. Wow, it's crazy.
We're not gonna get into it, but all I remember about that night was that the subs turned off like 5 minutes into your set.
Yeah.
So it was literally just like the hi-hats for like 50 minutes. And then right before that, like your opener was Dougie Fresh just on the mic asking people to come to his chicken restaurant.
Yes. Chanting the number of the chicken or something like that. Or like,
he was like
the phone number. Or no, the address. It was like 63rd and Avenue B, New York City. And like everyone's chanting.
Like, when I say 63rd.
It was... Yeah, ate into our time, and it got to the spot where like noise complaints were, so they turned the subs off during a bass heavy music set. It was just, it was a wild night, but great stories.
But yeah, all of those moments, man, I feel very lucky to have seen a lot of those because it's special times, man. Not that, now isn't either. You're, doing these giant things.
Yeah.
I mean, to you, are you just always kind of looking to what's next? Like, can you appreciate it in the moment?
No, I mean that's just I don't in the moment. I'm like, it's a fucking like a flaw of mine, which I kind of want to like change. But like all of these shows, like I play Coachella and like these things that are amazing shows. I love them. Like I'm very fortunate to play those. But like for me, I'm like so critical on everything that like I can't enjoy the moments of these things. So like that Coachella performance, like. As soon as I got off stage, I was like going through the things I did wrong instead of being like, yo, in the moment that was like going back and looking back at it, I can reminisce a little bit, but it's just like totally like kind of like miss the moment in those things.
Yeah. Well, and you're technically doing a lot during those shows too, so I'm sure it's,
Maybe, I don't know, man. It's a weird thing. Like I saw an interview with Martin Garrix too, and he was talking about how all the shows just like blend together. Like we're able to play these giant, amazing shows that like if anyone had one chance to play them, it'd be like the best thing ever. And it sucks because it just becomes the same thing in a way. Like it's so weird. I don't want to sound jaded or like anything, but like we do these huge shows that are amazing, but it's just like they don't, after a while, they kind of do blur together in a way.
Yeah.
And so like, yeah, you're right. I'm always looking for what's next. And I think that's why those big shows, when we go back and even bands and stuff talk about going back and playing smaller venues and stuff, because it gets you back to that original feeling of why you love this. Like, yeah, if I were to go play a couple of small shows and I go play a big show again, I'm sure it'd be like, oh my God, I love the big shows again. It's just a contrast, man. It's a grass is always greener kind of thing. And I mean, that's just life in general, but I feel that a lot with with the shows in the career.
To sort of bring it up to now, so once the Floss 2.0 popped off and you guys, were doing these bigger things, bring us up to now as far as, at this point, you've gone solo. Josh has got his own career and all that. Josh had been a part of this for so long. Yeah. I mean, since the absolute beginning, and it was a thing you guys built together. Can you sort of take us through how that came about and sort of what does the future look like?
Yeah, I mean, he wanted to do his own thing. He's doing his own thing. Like, I'm not going to speak too much on it. Like, that's what he wanted to do. We had these Floss 1.0, we said, Floss 2.0. And in between those, we had hardship. Like, it was hard in between. And transition and change is hard. And I think that's what's going on now. It's like, I seriously checked off every bucket list thing I could that I've ever wanted to do in Floss. And maybe he did the same. I don't know. I haven't spoke to him on it, but I'm sure he did the same. Like, we've done everything we've wanted to in this, and now we want to do something else. And that's what I want to do with Floss. I want to take it there. I want to like be able to go the way that we want to go with it. Like we've done everything. I can do whatever I want now. Yeah. So that's kind of where it's at. But just like in between Floss 1.0 and 2.0, there's like a time of figuring out what's next. And I think that's what it is. And you go through growing pains during those times.
Right.
But in the end, it's probably going to come out in a positive way where if I'm talking about me, like I feel good. Floss 1.0 was awesome. I felt good. There was no walls and it just felt great. We were like killing it. Went down, had hardship. Then the wave came back up and we're out here like trying to figure shit out and like and enjoy this and love it. And then the wave went back down and now hopefully there's going to be a wave coming back up.
Well, and I mean, let's not gloss over the fact either that you guys kind of birthed, a new sound and a new genre in dance music.
Yeah.
And now, maybe trap isn't like the new hot sound anymore. It's still there. It's still huge.
Yeah.
But I always wonder, like, when the trends have moved on and the originators are still there, is that freeing or is that, a limitation in a way? Because you look at, like, if you take, say, dubstep and you look at Caspa and Rusko and Scream and Benga and all these guys, and they've all kind of gone different ways. And now, like Caspa and Rusko just did like a legacy.
I saw that.
Like a legacy reunion tour where they're like playing all the old jams and shit. And I went and saw it and it was incredible.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was so dope. But then it made me wonder, like, they helped give birth to this genre. Like, but are they trapped in kind of just repeating it? Or
yeah.
I just wonder, like, as someone who was part of building that movement, do you feel a responsibility to keep it progressing, or have you kind of handed it off at this point to like the community, letting it grow up like a kid, I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah. Like it's like a teenager, like, and it's out of the house now. It's like, it's off doing its own thing.
Right. It's got the keys to the car.
Yeah. It could be all of that, man. Like with the dubstep guys like that too. Like they're doing that, but who knows, man? Are they, I don't know those dudes at all.
I don't either.
But I mean, I know of the music and I met them and stuff, but I don't know them as a person. And I don't know, are they doing the legacy tour because they need money? Are they doing it because they fucking love the music?
Right.
Who knows? Like, yeah, the legacy sound of dubstep might not be the poppin' thing right now, but those dudes might love it just as much because there's so much attached to it, to that sound for them, that they just want to go out there and play those songs.
And
again.
it was sick to see them play it to a new generation of kids
that's
who
cool
maybe
too.
didn't grow up with it.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's some old heads in the crowd, a few people too.
Yeah.
To kind of answer your question, like, I don't know. I don't feel the obligation that I like have to like keep this going and stuff and like ride it into the sunset or whatever. Like I want to just be able to create anything and create music, art, all of this stuff and just push it forward in the way I want to. We were very fortunate to be the dudes who started a genre before, but for people to look at me and be like, oh, you got to start a new genre again or something, like that's too much pressure. And just like in Floss 1.0, the stuff that I fucked up on, and when we had the chance to do Floss 2.0, we got to do the things that we did wrong or fix the things we did wrong before and do the things we did right. And now I'm in this crossroads again. I get to do that again.
Yeah.
I get to like
3.0.
Okay, yeah, 3.0. I get to do the things like I liked before and then also take it in another way. Like, and I think that that's what it's going to be. Like, I can't predict it right now, even though it's Flosstradamus, supposed to be Nostradamus predicting the future kind of shit. I don't know right now. And I think that that's what it is. We're just in this transitional phase right now.
Well, and I think it's when you, in Floss 2.0, when you basically like invented what we're calling trap now, that wasn't intent. It wasn't like you set out. You're like, I'm going to invent a new genre.
That. You can't. Yeah, there's probably shit that's been forced like that. But we were talking about like music videos and like memes and then like brands like trying to like force memes and force culture. You can't do that. You can't force it. It feels forced. There's going to be this layer of
people
like,
can tell.
People can tell. Yeah, part of making art is kind of throwing paint at the wall and see what sticks.
I think that's most of making art for me. I don't know. I mean, and I'm always fascinated by like creativity and how it works. I don't really understand it, but I always try to as much as I can. And for me, I'll get creatively blocked, and the only way I can get through it is kind of just bashing my head against it. Like you just have to sit there and get through it. At least for me, especially when it's under pressure, or whatever. I mean, of course, like taking breaks, taking time for yourself is very important. But for me, like, just unlocking that creativity is sometimes you have to like turn into the wind a little bit,
Yeah, dude. But I think that pressure is what makes the creation happen. Like I was very fortunate in whatever to have to make a set for Floss all the time. So like there's this pressure every show, at least on me. I put it on me, but it was like, shit, you have to fucking make a new set, or you have to like make new edits. You have to do this stuff. And for me, I got pushed into a corner. So I was like, I have to create. And there's something good about that. I think of most creative people, you need a boss. Like creative people they're bad at having like at being a boss to themselves. And so you need someone to fucking be like, yo, you got to do this like right now. And at least for me, it works the best that way. It's like, you have 3 days, do this right now and like focus, and I can do it. But one of the things I was going to say on the creative process is like, I love the feeling I get when something like comes to fruition. Like I say an idea that maybe didn't happen before, or something that's like really cool, and I just feel it. It feels like, I don't know how to explain it, but like I can't feel anything like that. It's almost like a sense, like a sixth sense or an eighth sense or whatever. Like, like if I come up with an idea and it's like kind of cool or dope to me, like I feel like it hasn't happened, and then we make it happen or it comes to fruition, it just feels so good. And I even take it to a bare minimum. Even when you and I riff and we joke with each other and like, it's just like this like riffing that happens. It feels, I get that same feeling when it's just like a natural, like,
it's pushing those same buttons.
Yeah. Like it's almost like you're on your toes and you have to like, I don't know.
Yeah. Just in the moment, like that, maybe that's it. It's just like, that's when you're able to be in the moment and appreciate what's happening.
You can't force creativity, but you kind of have to force it a little bit, but like, it has to be natural and just like,
you have to let it allow space for it to happen, I think.
Yeah.
Like you have to just sit there, even if it doesn't feel like it's happening.
Right. And maybe that's what's happening right now in this like huge transition of my life. I'm just very fortunate. Like I'm in Los Angeles right now. I live in New York. I'm from a small town of Michigan. I'm able to do what I love for a living. I'm very, very proud to be here. And I'm happy for everyone I've met along the way. All the people that are in the room that you guys can't see now, and all the people that are listening, like...
There's only 4 people in the room. It's not that many.
Yo, there's 1,000 people in this room right now. But no, it's like... I don't know. I'm very fortunate to be doing what I do.
I had a moment like that where we were in Australia at the same time around New Year's this year, and that was the first time I had ever been to Australia doing shows, and they were all going really well. I was having a blast, and then the last day I was there, I linked up with you, and for actually what was like the last duo Flosstradamus show, another moment randomly. But then afterwards, you and I just went back to the hotel, and I mean, I think I had like an 8 a.m. flight, and we ended up talking till like 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
And I just, we were just sitting there, and I was kind of having that silent realization of like just how fortunate and how crazy that moment was to like be with, one of probably my closest friend in the music industry all the way across the world, place I had never been before, both of us doing what we want to do. And yeah, it was one of those special moments. And maybe I have that same problem where I just don't look for or appreciate those moments enough.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, one of them pops up, man. And that was, I still think about that. That was definitely one of those just moments that made me realize we're very lucky to be doing what we do. And it kind of makes all the shit and all the hard work and all the disappointments worth it for those moments.
I think in these interviews, people tend to talk about the good moments. There's so many hard moments.
Oh, yeah.
Of the shit.
I mean, can you think of a DJ that isn't like super stressed out and anxious most of the time?
Yeah.
I can think of a couple, but I couldn't, not more than one hand.
Yeah, like that are just like, whatever, man. Like, just, yeah. No, it's true. Like, look at any sort of like performance culture, like rock music, DJ culture, whatever, like drugs and like sex, what is it? Sexual, not a sex abuse, but what's like all of these
sexual addiction.
Yeah, sexual addiction. Yeah. All of that, all drugs, sexual addiction, all sorts of addictions, all of this stuff spawn from this shit, man. We have to be on our toes all the time. There's so much fucking pressure. I think you can get lost in that. Like when you do screw up, it can really hurt now because it might have been your one chance because things are moving so quick now. I think that we need to go back to appreciate that, like those feelings that we had getting into this. And so what, you hit a wall. So what, things are hard now. Like there was good times before, there's going to be good times again. Like
right. Well, and that's I think a misconception too of like you get to a certain level, and I think kids aspiring to do what we do will look at it and be like, that's the perfect life, or, if I could just get to that level.
Yeah.
Well, and for me, it's like, I don't want to tell them not to do it, but I do want to sort of just explain what it really looks like, and what the reality of it is.
But we were talking about our parents and shit earlier, and it's like, they could tell us all the mistakes that they did, like everything, and we have to go through those mistakes ourselves.
That's the only way I've learned anything in my life, honestly. I mean, I've learned a lot from my parents and from my friends, but all the important life lessons, the way that have made major changes in my life, the only way that happened is I fucked something up really bad, and I was like, I'm never going to do that again. And that was it. You only learn by making those mistakes. So
and the thing that sucks with our careers and stuff, if you make a mistake, it's public and it's there and it's in front of people. Even right now, we're going through the Floss split up happened, and it's like that's in front of everyone, and like there's all these there's a lot more pressure to your mistakes because there's more involved around it.
Right.
But like life is full of those, and people need to realize that with a lot of people, like you can make mistakes. It's okay. Like it's not perfect. Everyone posts all their good pictures on Instagram. I was joking about like I want to just post all like the bad stuff,
the outtakes.
Yeah, the outtakes are the real stuff. Like people do a little bit, but
like the red eyes in the flash.
Yeah, dude. Well, not even I'm just saying like in general, like fucking around, like my life stuff happens, man. I want to like. I'm not going to post when my car gets booted, but I'm going to post when like I'm like at the show with Diplo. It's like so weird. It's like, why not post when your shit gets booted? People go through hard life shit too.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about that, but
what's an aspirational thing, right? I mean, you're projecting a lifestyle that, you're living to a certain extent, but it's also you're kind of selling the fantasy of it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know if that's good or bad.
Yeah, I don't know either. I guess in the end, like, we're able to do what we love to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's maybe the end lesson is if you love to do something, you just got to keep doing it. Whatever it is, not DJing, whatever, but if you really love to do something, you just got to keep doing it. Yeah. And the rest of the shit will work itself out.
Everyone goes through their path in this game. And it might be like a Martin Garrix, like one song takes you to the way top. Actually, he had a little bit of a career before, but there's like the song that takes you way up. Yeah. Or some people might have the slow burn. I had the slow burn in this shit.
I'm still in the slow burn.
Yeah, dude, a lot of people are in the slow burn. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's just the way it is. I don't know.
Well, and that's another important thing too, is like you can't judge yourself based on somebody else's path.
Yeah.
You know, there's space for everybody, and everybody has their own lane, and, you know, what somebody else did that worked isn't going to work for you anyway because you're not them. You know, it has to be authentic to you.
Dom from Big Gigantic told me that him and I were talking about like the different waves in the game and all the different genres that are changing and future bass and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, man, this game, there's so many waves in this game. I'm just trying to swim. And I was like, that's kind of awesome, man. And I think that that's the way it should be.
I agree. Well, that seems like a good note to wrap it up on. Yeah, thank you, man. It's I'm really glad we got to sit down and do this. Like, even though we've known each other for like 10 plus years, I don't know. I feel like I just learned a lot about you.
No, likewise, man. Thank you.
Yeah,
and more to come. We'll probably do this again.
Yeah, we got to do it again, man. And you know, from me and kind of the whole music community, like I know you were saying you're under a lot of pressure, but man, we got your back, and like,
oh, thank you.
Everyone's stoked to see what's next, man.
I'm stoked for that too. I'm stoked for the next chapter in my life. But thank you for having my back and all that, man. For real, you're a good dude. I wish you the same.
Nah, I love you, man. It's always good to talk to you, man. Thank you.
And on that note, check out my mixtape, SoundCloud.com.
All right, that's the show. I want to thank Kurt so much for that incredible conversation. You know, in today's like larger than life EDM world, everything's about the brand, and really none of it is about the actual people. And that's really what I want to do, is just break down those walls and get to the people who are behind it all and what they're really thinking and feeling. And thank you, Kurt, for taking that little journey with me. Don't forget, Flosstradamus' new single, How You Gonna Do That, drops this Friday, June 23rd. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Again, this is Back to Back. My name is Willie Joy. You can follow me on all social media at Willie Joy. I really want to hear what you think. Let's start a conversation. Hit me up. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you liked, what you didn't like. Let me know what you want to hear on the show. And we'll see you next week, guys. Thanks for listening. Have a good week. Bye.